Welcome back. Here, continuing to exploring the Vincent life theme. We're approaching to the stars alone. Very night itself. When I look at the stars, I can't help but dream aimlessly. Why is that? Those shining stars in the deep blue skies are harder to reach than the black dots on a map of France. If one can take a train to Tarascon or Ruin, then surely I can ride death to reach some star. One thing is certain, just as you cannot board a train once you are dead, so long as you are alive, you cannot travel to the stars either. It is getting late, so I shall go to bed now. Good night. May good things come to pass. The object of this painting is probably the most famous Van Gogh work, Vincent work. I hope they will explain to us the way he was painting it and how and when, as we are continuing to explore. And if you want to look more for his picture, here you go. Let us go next. At the Starry Night, about a month after Van Gogh voluntarily admitted himself to a mental hospital, on a night in June 1889, the artist gazed at the dawn sky through the window of his room and quietly took up his brush. In this work, the cypress trees rise like black flames into the sky, while swirling, almost unsettling stars and a glowing moon illuminate the night. From this, one can sense the raw, turbulent soul of an artist battling loneliness while suffering from mental illness. In reality, Van Gogh room did not offer a view to the cypress trees, the church, or the village of Saint Remy. Known for painting only what he saw, Van Gogh combined memory and imagination to create this fictional world. It reveals his inner conflicts and anguish, and to this day, the painting remains one of the most famous works, continuing to captivate people around the world. Nothing behind it. Take another look at it and go further. After suffering a severe mental breakdowns in Arles, Vincent voluntarily admitted himself to a psychiatric hospital in southern France, where he would spend about a year. Though he continued to struggle with recurring episodes during periods of stability, he worked with intense focus. Even when forbidden from going outside, he devoted himself to copying works by the masters he admired, showing his unwavering commitment to art even in the midst of crisis. This gallery is going to present works from the final periods of Van Gogh's life. In the paintings, one can witness the colors and expressions he ultimately reached, profound, unique, and beyond the realms of words. Country roads in the province of Night by Night. The two poplars on a road through the hills. In just 10 years, Vincent van Gogh created around 2,000 works. This means he completed an oil painting about 860 in total, at an astonishing pace of nearly one every 4 days. During these roughly 400 days he spent in asylum in the Saint-Remy, he seemed to sense the approach of death, devoting himself entirely to the canvas. In that short time, he produced nearly 300 pieces. Even while undergoing treatment, he remained deeply committed to his art, ultimately achieving his own blazing colors and uniquely inimitable style. Even after being admitted to the hospital in Saint-Remy, Van Gogh's continued condition remained unstable, and he spent many days unable to go outside. He asked his brother Theo to send him prints and reproductions, which he diligently copied in an oil paint. Vincent referred to this process of transforming monochrome prints into richly colored oil paintings as a form of translation. The drinkers. Two Crabs. 1889. The artist revisited Millet's the Digger, which he had copied in his early years, and painted it anew in his final period. It is as if, after being forced to leave Arles, at the request of the townspeople, he saw in the theme of expulsion from paradise a reflection of his own faith. The Reaper is a vague figure struggling away in the heat to finish his task, but in this figure I saw the image of death, in the sense that we humans are like the wheat being reaped. It's a counterpart to the shower, which I painted earlier, yet there is nothing said in this death. It happens in broad daylight under a sun that floods everything with a golden light. Whitfield is Reaper and the Sun. In February 1890, Van Gogh exhibited this work at the Les Winged the 20, a group shown in Belgium, where it was purchased for 400 francs by the painter Anna Boch. It is said to be the only oil painting he sold during his lifetime. A cluster of irises blooming in the garden of the asylum in Saint Remy is depicted with rhythmic brushstrokes. The use of murky browns for the ground suggests a shift in the palette and expression for his Arles period. The vivid blooming flowers seem to convey the powerful vitality of nature, to which the artist felt deeply connected. For Vincent, flowers were a symbol of the joy and affirming life. He once said, "To paint in the lightning rod for my illness," and continuing to wield his brush as a way to confront his hallucinations. Gone were the dark tones of his earlier works. Now, white roses bloom against green background, bathed in the gentle light, as he would save the flowers and the paints in an eternal and give them an eternal life on the art. Theo marriage. In 1889, Vincent's younger brother Theo married Joanna, nicknamed Jo, on July 5th. Theo wrote to Vincent with joyful news they were expecting a child. Perhaps around February the baby will be born, I believe. It will be a lovely little boy. If it's all right with you, I would like to name him after you, Vincent. To celebrate the upcoming birth of his nephew, Vincent painted almond blossom as a gift. Each delicate white flowers blooming against the bright blue sky is rendered with care, reflecting the love and hope he poured into the piece. Theo had long been Vincent's greatest support, not only financially but emotionally. Yet, at the same time, his brother's marriage and the coming child also sparked a quiet fear in Vincent. Would Theo still be able to support his art as he always had? And these swirling patterns in the background, reminiscent of blazing flames, seem to reflect the turmoil with Vincent's mind, evoking the impression of being caught in a vivid hallucination. Having painted largely as a self-taught artist, he ultimately arrived at a complete new form of expression. One that would become a precursor to Expressionism and profoundly influence the course of 20th century art. Though he died in obscurity and received a little recognition during lifetime, Vincent van Gogh's works are now traded for immense value across the world. This painting is an oil version based on one of the Vincent's earliest lithographs. Although there were days when he felt healthy, Vincent gradually came to realize that the seizure would continue to return, and that painting was the only way he could soothe himself. Perhaps unconsciously sensing the presence of death, his troubled mind was beginning to look back on his life once more. Oriel, Old Man, and Eternal Gate. On the July 6th of 1890, Vincent visited his brother Theo, but what he saw there was an exhausted figure of Theo and his wife, overwhelmed by financial worries and the cares of their aligned child. Since Vincent had decided to pursue a career in painting, Theo had continuously supported him financially, an immense burden that had gradually taken its toll. Faced with this reality, Vincent was consumed by a deep sense of guilt, and yet paintings was the only thing left to him. It's been almost 3 months since the last attack. I can't help but wonder if another one is just around the corner. Trying to shake off his growing unease, he threw himself into his work with relentless focus. At some point, however, a pistol burst from his innkeeper under the present pretense of shooting verse began to quietly rest in the painter's pocket. Did he stole a pistol from the innkeeper? Ooh. In May 1890, after being discharged from the asylum Saint Remy, Winston traveled to Avers to Oise, where he would spend his final days of his life. Though haunted by the fear of recurring seizures, he continued to paint with astonishing energy, completing around 80 canvases in just 2 months before his death. The church in this painting appears to ripple and twist, as if shaken by earthquake, imbuing the entire scene with a tense, settling atmosphere. It seems to reflect Van Gogh's complex inner state, shaped by his early deep devotion to religion. Sunday afternoon in July 27, 1890. After finishing lunch, Vincent slipped a pistol into his pocket and set out as usual to paint the landscape. As the sun began to set, he took out the pistol and pulled the trigger, aiming at his chest. But the bullet missed the vital organ and failed to be immediately fatal. That night, Vincent returned to his lodging without a word and quietly went upstairs to his room. Suspicious, the innkeeper checked on him and found him laying on his bed, bleeding from his abdomen. Dr. Gauchet rushed to his scene, but the bullet was locked near his heart. There was nothing he could do. The next day, Theo arrived in haste, but to be by his brother's side. At his bedside, Theo embraced his beloved brother, sobbing, "Please don't cry. I did this for everyone's sake." On the evening of July 28th, Vincent's conditions worsened, and at 1:30 a.m. on July 28, 90, Vincent van Gogh passed away at the age of 37, bringing his intense and turbulent life to a close. This is a portrait of the Dr. Gachet, who became Vincent's physician during his time in the Hours series. An amateur painted himself, Dr. Gachet supported Van Gogh's artistic pursuits and had connections with other young artists, including Cezanne. Vincent portrayed himself in a pose symbolizing melancholy, capturing a sorrow yet gentle expression on the doctor's face. Vincent's memories were loving, present to by Joe, Theo's wife. On the June 10, we were invited to the Dr. Gachet to spend the day in the hours. bringing our baby along. Vincent came to meet us at the station. In his hands, he held a bird nest for his little nephew, who shared his name to play with. He insisted on carrying the baby in his arms, and without catching his breath, began showing him the animals in the garden. When the loud crow of a rooster startled the baby into tears, Vincent laughed and imitated the sound himself, saying proudly, "This is how the rooster goes. Cook-a-doo-doo. Cook-a-doo-doo." He was so delighted to introduce the animals world to his nephew. We had lunch outside and then took a long walk together. That day was peaceful, gentle, and truly full of joy. None of us could have imagined just a few weeks later we would be struck by such tragedy. This is a letter from Theo to his wife, dated July 28th, the day before Vincent passed away. Vincent is glad that I'm here and we can be together now. Poor Vincent. Happiness came to him so rarely. Now he can no longer even dream of anything at all. He was left behind in a terrible loneliness, burdened by the weight far too heavy to carry alone. He keeps asking about you and the baby, and he says, "Can you imagine that life holds this much sorrow?" This is a letter written by Theo after Vincent passing. Vincent said at the end, "I wish I could pass away just like this." And in the end, that wish was granted. Everything was over in just a brief moment. Finally found the peace he could never find here on Earth. The room where Vincent van Gogh cascade was quietly transformed by the hands of the few friends who had rushed to his side. They adorned it with flowers and Vincent's own paintings. Many wreaths and bouquets were sent, and the space became a serene and beautiful one. Then Dr. Gachet arrived, carrying a large bouquet of sunflower, the flower Vincent had loved more than any other in his lifetime. Vincent spoke on his deathbed, told Gachet. This is a letter Theo wrote to their mother. Cannot put into the words how deeply saddened I am. As long as I lived, I will never be able to forget this sorrow. If there is one thing I could say, it is that he's finally found the peace he was always searching for. Oh, mother, truly was my brother, mine and mine alone. Theo, who had always been in fragile health, saw his condition worsen after the death of his brother Vincent. Following in his brother's footsteps, he passed away just 6 months later, on January 25, 1891, at the young age of 33. Now, the two brothers lie side by side, resting together in a small cemetery surrounded by the vast fields of ours. In closing, a counterfeit forgery exists of a road in the Alpils. Exhibit in Gallery 4B. The forgery was found mistakenly displayed on the O'Hara Museum of Art in Japan as an original work by Vincent van Gogh, and yet, even if it was not authentic, viewers still paused in front of that painting, imagining the light and wind of southern France where Vincent once lived. It felt something real still within them. The artwork displays in the world are also not originals but images, even though we sincerely hope that your time here was kindled a genuine light within your heart. One more place, sunflowers, is also displayed to this world. We await you in the chapter Alpha, created by Key. Thank you. This is the end. All alone snow. Thank you. And I see you next time.